Today I'm going to demonstrate how to have the most ideal day trading or swing trading entry order strategy that you can set up in advance. Just looking at charts, say about twice per day, and go on about your day or sleep at night, which a lot of people would love to do sometimes, and then come back later to see if your trades were triggered by your entry orders, and then take the next step. Decide if you need to plan your exit if the trade is intended to last longer, or if your exit target or take profit was already hit, then you'll just come back and see that there's profit and start setting up for the next trade. It's truly amazing and brilliant and a sweet way to trade. So convenient and doable. This is a skill that solves the main challenge that many traders have. And that's why it's critical that I show it to you right now. By the way, this works for gold, for all Forex currency pairs, for stocks, commodities, digital currencies, any financial market that is tradable, this will work. And once you master it, you're going to love it. So let's do it. In today's busy world where many traders work long hours at other jobs and everyone has other responsibilities and other activities in life, lifestyle requirements, many things to keep us busy and to make time management critical for everyone, using this method that I'm about to show you, many traders are able to manage their trading business and balance their lifestyle. So what I'm about to show you today is how to set up entry orders in advance before the next market move so that you can do your analysis, say about twice a day. It's possible you could do it once a day, but everyone usually can do 15 or 30 minutes of analysis whenever is convenient for you, perhaps in the morning or in the evening, around twice a day. So you keep track, you can see what's going on with the market. You just aren't going to necessarily be there at the time the entry is happening. After you do your analysis and set up your entry orders, then you can go about the rest of your day, get away from your computer and do other things, and then come back later and see if your trades were triggered. Now, I think we have all seen that most people are interested in some kind of a way to trade that doesn't require you to know anything about the market, doesn't require you to be able to read the charts, read financial markets, and all the methods that I've seen that use any kind of entry order is based on something so simple and blind like support and resistance. It's like trying to shoot the side of a barn with a bow and arrow while you're blindfolded, and it is possible sometimes you could hit the target and you might occasionally get some profit, but you'll see when doing that you don't really have a consistent strategy that works doing that. This method is for people who do want to still have a legitimate skill in trading, but just don't have the time to stay in front of their computer constantly, nonstop, and always be there at the times when the market is going to turn. Now, the way that I have always overcome this challenge of time management is by knowing when entries occur. And now we know when entries are going to occur. It's no secret. Once you realize this, you'll see that entries form at the same times every day, almost consistently. There are only certain times when entries actually form. If you actually know what an entry is, and you can look at a chart, take a chart right now and just point out where the entries are. Notice what time it happens, and you'll see there's a consistent pattern. Entries only happen at certain times of day. So now I know when the market is going to form an entry because I've seen it consistently over and over for a long time. And every day you can check the market and see what it did, and there's a consistent pattern when the market dies out at certain times of day, when it picks up again, and when entries actually form. Again, it's critical that you know what an entry actually is, and then you can see it on the chart and you can see what time they happen, and then it won't be any mystery. You will know when entries are going to form. And it's no secret that we've discovered that 70% of all entries happen in the first 3 hours of the European and London sessions. And most of the entries happen during the London session at some time, except for entries on the dollar and on gold, which tend to happen in the New York session. And that turns out to be about 20% of the entries are in the New York session. And then when there is Aussie or Kiwi news, then there are going to be entries likely at those times during the Asian session. It's a very consistent thing. And for the most part, we know when they're going to happen. But still, that doesn't solve the problem for everyone. So even though we do know when entries are likely to happen, it's just not feasible for everyone to be available at those times every time. So in order to do this strategy, you will still need to have the ability to read charts. And that takes time and practice. This is not a way of bypassing the need to be able to read charts. If you are committed to becoming a professional trader, then with this strategy, you can become a professional who knows and understands the intimate details of market behavior and understands how to read charts, but only looking at charts for 15 to 30 minutes around twice a day at whatever time is convenient for you. And many people tell me that they work long hours every week and sometimes have a long commute in addition to that, working 65 hours per week and also trading. And I admire that determination, that kind of motivation. So here's how you do it. Every day you'll need to go through the process of analyzing each currency pair in each group of related pairs, comparing patterns on these related pairs, and searching for clarity as we normally do. And it's always based on which currency is expected to move for this next entry. Is it going to be moving because of the Aussie, or is it going to be a dollar move, or is it going to be the pound move, or whatever? Once you know what the next trade will be, we always identify trades long in advance, and you can use your skill to determine how you would set up the next entry order to put you into the trade in the best and most accurate way possible without actually seeing the trade happening at the time. So here's some recent beautiful and excellent examples of how you can get into excellent trades using entry orders. This trade, we have been aware that it was likely to happen for about 2 days. And you could see it coming, corrective move coming back to this previous high. Actually, this could be considered an ABC. Many times patterns don't have every aspect of the qualities that it's supposed to have, but still you can recognize patterns that are likely to turn. So for the last 2 days, we can have an entry order rating. In this case, a sell stop at a certain price below the current price. Also, in many cases, again, a trailing sell stop, trailing the price as it goes up, could also assist you to get into the trade. Here's the same trade on the Aussie Swiss, and all you have to do to be able to get into this type of trade is to understand that this is a correction and know what corrections look like, be able to recognize them, be able to recognize ends of corrections, which is what we focus on every day in our live sessions. And here's the same trade on the Aussie dollar, and you can see that it's off and running. Normally, if you have an end of an ABC, the market will now go down all the way past this low, and it will be a huge movement. The same thing might be happening now on the Euro Aussie in reverse. We've been stalking this as a possible ABC, looking for a possible turn, and now we have a turn. So now we're going to find out if this continues to go straight up. So can you see how easy it would be to have entry orders set up based on knowing that this is a correction and knowing the price that you would like to get in if the correction did reverse? So on gold, you can see because we knew that this trend was going to keep going up, or it seemed likely that it was going to keep going up, then we could be looking for an end of a correction. And now we can see that the end of the correction did form, and we did enter right at the very moment that it turned there, and am still in that trade. Now, I have showed this type of entry in many of the free videos that I have on YouTube, Some people might recognize what I'm talking about, and some people, of course, might tune it out in order to continue their lives without knowing the truth about how to trade markets. And the point is, with each of these setups, if you're patient and you're stalking the trade, you're aware that they're going to happen well in advance, as we always are. For every real trade that happens, we always know in advance that it's coming because there's a pattern set up that always precedes every entry. And that enables us to be able to set some kind of entry order to get into the trade, even if you're not going to be right at your computer when the trade actually happens. I always prefer to be right there at the computer and see it with my own eyes, but not everyone can do that. And if you can't, this is the solution for how you can do it. So now that more time has gone by, we can take a look and see what happened with this trade that we were using as an example. Here's where we first decided to enter this trade and showed how to set up an entry order for that trade. And here's where the market is now. There hasn't been an exit for those of us who can identify entries and exits. And so we're still in the trade. Now, whenever I show these trades, especially if I happen to be showing something that is in hindsight, a lot of people ask, is it really possible to do that? A lot of people just flatly say, that's not possible to do. And that always makes us feel great. But the real question that I have is always, why is it that other people can't see these entries? They seem to be obvious to me and to people in our group, but to a lot of people, they don't know how to identify them. And that's why we get a lot of satisfaction in helping people to be able to see this.
This is so fascinating and so effective that you probably want to see someone do this every day. It would be the same thing that we would always do, except that you wouldn't be there when it happens. So you would have to have the same skill to be able to read the market and determine what the next trade would be. And in order to develop that skill, you still are going to need to practice it and have training, have visual and technical training to develop your skill. And that can take some time, but if you're committed, if you are determined to make this business work, you won't have any problem doing this, and you can accelerate the amount of time that it takes to develop this skill by coming to our live sessions, which we do every day and demonstrate this. Now, the trades are best set up for the 1 to 4 hour time frame, because if you get shorter than that, you definitely will get caught up in some noise, and then that will put you into all kinds of bad trades. They won't work out. But if you step back a little bit, make the 1 hour the short end of the range where you would actually execute trades on. And these are best set up for swing trades, and they can also be set up for day trades, because you go away, you know that something's going to happen, you get put into the trade when it happens. You can't even have it take profit at a reasonable place where you expect the market to go. Come back and see that you already have the profit. So you want to keep this in the range of day trade that may last for just a few hours, or even a fairly short-term trade you can execute in advance. You can set up in advance and then get into the trade automatically and have it take profit. Or you can get into a trade, come back later that day, reassess it and see how does it look. Do you want to get out, or do you want to let it continue to run a little bit more? Now, to find out more about what really works in trading so that you can actually develop this skill of reading the market and knowing why you would enter a trade, just go to tradingmastermind.com and sign up for our free professional trading course that will put you on the right track to understanding all the basics for how you need to get started in the trading business. And if this interests you, if you are fascinated with the idea of doing this, I have made another video about how you can read the market and execute these types of trades, and you can watch that right over here.